Welcome to the Urbanist Agenda, the podcast that's not just for ourselves. I'm joined today by Adam Something. Welcome back to the program, Adam.
Hello, great to be here on the Urbanist Agenda, where we talk about gulagging anyone who drives a car. Our host, Jason Slaughter, will handle it. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad to be here.
We should work on the jokes, I think, in the pre-call.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's just whatever. I mean, it's a bit off the cuff.
So I wanted to talk to you because we were chatting on Discord and you brought up something which is just like batshit insane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're going to have to introduce this because there's a political party, a new political party. Tell us about it.
Oh, yeah. So in Czechia, recently there has been an election, the 2025 general election, where people across the country voted for parties for the parliament's lower house. It's kind of like the House of Representatives in the US.
Right.
There's also an upper house. It's called the Senate. It's like the US. It's a bicameral parliament. So the lower house has your traditional members of parliament. And one of these parties is called Motorists for themselves. They are the car party. They're actually a car party. Now, they got 6.8% of the vote. The limit to get into parliament is 5%. So, hey, congratulations to them. The party is led by this like neo-Nazi, this public sort of ironic 4chan neo-Nazi. He looks like a Ken doll that was left out in the sun for too long, got a bit melted. The guy literally likes to zig heil in public. He's actually a former, maybe even a current racer. Like he's, I think, a Formula One racer. So that's where the car brain comes from for him. But otherwise, he's just your usual, like, doesn't believe in anything. He likes it when things are based and people call him based. And that's his whole ideology. Otherwise, I think he had some allegations that he like beat up his girlfriend. And recently, he was actually nominated for Foreign Minister of the Czech Republic. This nomination will stand, it seems, despite people having unearthed a huge trove of like just like neo-Nazi shit from his Facebook older posts, where he's literally just like there zig-heiling. It's fun.
So is this a local party or is this across the whole country?
This is across the whole country. So it is like everyone in the country votes and the votes are tallied up. And then your cumulative amount of like votes will turn into seats if you reach a given threshold.
Like most European countries,
Yeah,
something
of course.
similar.
Yeah. So it's not first past the post, it's proportional. And now the reason, so, okay, this is an interesting thing. So we can unpack this. How come Motorists for themselves is even a thing, right? They're a new thing. Before, I think, last election, they were not there yet. In fact, this whole Motorist party officially appeared on the scene about a year-ish ago in like September 2024. And since then, 6.8%. Right now they are, so at the time of the election, Politico puts them at 7. However, this Motorists party, I would say, this is a mildly hot take, lukewarm take. They're nothing new. Like, sure, they're bombastic. Sure, they're led by this open Nazi. Like, he's the honorary president, right? Otherwise, the party, I think, is officially led by Petr Matzinka, who's also like your average, like, 4chan retard. But the party was actually, so how did this party come from nowhere and reach 7%?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This is like really new. Just suddenly pop out like what? We're talking like a year ago, right?
Yeah, but so the party is very new, but there's like a really old explanation as to like a real like a old school explanation as to why they made it that far. That party got like some insane funding and like they were everywhere, blanketed the whole country with political ads from scratch basically. The new formation appears and like you see them everywhere. Like they even threw in like these fake, political newspapers to every household where it's like, it looks like a newspaper, like a paper newspaper, but it's all like political stuff like, oh, there's this problem. Well, Philip Turek says this, And how could they afford this? Easy answer. The Motorists for Themselves party is funded by this thing called the Václav Klaus Institute. And that institute, that's like this far-right clown car, basically, far-right clown car money platform, which is in large part financed by a Czech billionaire who's also a lignite baron. Now, the whole idea here is that, of course, this lignite billionaire finances the Václav Klaus Institute, which then finances the party, the Motorists for Themselves party. And wouldn't you know, the Motorists for Themselves party got 2 ministries, one of them the Foreign Ministry, the other the Ministry of Environment.
Right.
Yeah, so like the lignite billionaire got his plant into the Ministry of Environment. So this is just like robber baron crook shit. But also, Of course, people voted for this, but the Czech far right didn't really move that much. Before the elections, we got the SPD party, which is a clown car of three different far right parties. It's basically like if you no longer get an erection on your own and you would have Sieg Heil in 1943, that's your party. It's like the Nazi boomer party, basically. And that party was at 13%. And before the election, they collapsed down to 8%. And pretty much all of those people went over to Motorists. So during the last election, the combined far right was about, I have some notes here, was 14.3%. Now with Motorists, with everything, it's at like 15.7. So it's like a 1.4% increase. That's really nothing. It's mostly just like a reorganization, right?
Right.
But then the car part, right? How the hell did this happen? Well,
yeah, so the car part is the thing that's funny to me, that a far-right party would brand themselves around cars. Like, it's just bizarre. What are the major selling points, the platform of the Motorists for Themselves party?
Well, I have to disagree with you there, actually. I think the fact that a far-right party would support cars and car centrism, that is, I think that's the most usual thing ever if you look around. So they support the popular thing, but also cars, right? Like those people are like full-on like nihilists. They don't believe in anything. They believe in their spicy, Hitler memes, whatever, 4chan poll. But that's it. They're like completely vacuous. They're empty suits. They just like it when people pay attention to them. Now, in terms of policy, it's like, oh, we must end the cyclist terror. We must, end the bullying of drivers. And by bullying, we mean like when someone tries to have them, observe the speed limit. It's just your typical like base boomer shit. Like I'm a boomer with a 25-year-old Skoda Octavia, which has like a fake technical license. And like I get really, really mad when people even suggest that I should not break the rules on the road. It's this energy. But the Motorist Party is like nothing new, really. They're nothing new. I call them a metastasis of existing forces within Czech politics. It's like, hey, it's just like that new party in Japan, which this new far-right party, which is like anti-foreigner and to the point where they want to like ban anime because it's like degenerate. And it's like, okay, sure, it's new and it's weird, but like those forces have existed in the country and they're just like crystallizing now, right? It's like
they're kind of like coming out as their own party now.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So this has always been there. Now, I don't predict, it might be wrong, but I personally don't predict a bright future for the party because the main party that they are with, which is led by this like billionaire called Andrej Babiš, there's lots of billionaires around the far right, very interesting. That person, he is really famous for being Babiš only cares about Babiš, right? His party is like, oh, we support the current popular thing, And okay, he's famous for just like drilling down, just like throwing his allies into a wood chipper and then using the pieces to prop himself up. So he's probably going to grind up his coalition partners because now the coalition is Babiš's party, which is called ANO, then the SPD, which is the boomer Nazi party, and the Motorists, which is the car Nazi party. But Babiš probably will eat them both like Pac-Man, as he does. And I think the reason why the Motorists got the foreign ministry is that they can publicly make like fools of themselves, basically, and then Babiš is forced to step in. Oh, this will not work. Oh, here's our guy for the job. And then slowly but surely they like sap the life from these two parties. I think that's what's going to happen. Still, the pro-car sentiment has already been there. Czech society, a significant part of Czech society has been like viciously, just like militaristically pro-car, completely almost because of the very aggressive and very, very well-funded pro-car, nearly propaganda when it comes to transit issues.
Well, yeah, this is one of these things that I've seen in my lifetime with conservatism and right-wing parties. It didn't used to be such a thing that like cars were on the right and bicycles and urbanism were on the left. Like that wasn't a thing. That's something that has happened really only over the last 10 years, I would say even. Like it really wasn't always this way. And I find whenever I look at this, I mean, and it's totally unsurprising that you're talking about a guy who made his money off of coal. It really comes down to the fact that there's so much fossil fuel money going into right-wing parties these days. It's just massive amounts. And the fact is that like bicycles and good urbanism are good for the climate. That's just the way it is. It's just better for the climate to have compact cities and have people walking, cycling, taking public transit. And I feel like urbanism has just ended up in the crosshairs. Like we're getting crossfire between the fossil fuel billionaires shooting at the environmentally friendly climate change people, and urbanism is stuck in the middle. And I'm seeing it happen all over the place in every country. But this is just the first time that I've seen it kind of so blatant that it's just like, yeah, cars. We're just going to call our company Cars.
Oh, yeah.
Our party, rather.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty egregious example. True, for sure. But I think like urbanism ended up in the spotlight because of how the right has been operating for the past decade and a half, right? So you don't have policy. Like the right doesn't have policies. So around the world, conservatives have far-right movements, have no policies, they have no ideology. They're like a bunch of nihilists. There are some exceptions. So, for example, Trump really, really appreciates and loves and works towards Donald Trump, for example. That's an example. But in other movements, it's you just see this like empty, nihilistic, we just want power, we just want to be liked, based, whatever. We just want money and we just want, power for themselves. Like in Hungary, Orban is just doing it for the money. In Slovakia, Fico, he's also far-right, by the way. If someone says, oh, the social democrat leftist Fico, nope, he is far-right, absolutely. He's also doing it just for the money. In Austria, like the previous, I think Strache was, I don't know, the previous leader was actually crazy. Like that dude was actually like an esoteric, crazy dude. He might have had some convictions, but generally speaking, when you look at these far-right parties, all they care about is power. Like there is no underlying ideology. And for them, actually, this billionaire class is very practical because they don't give a shit about democracy. They don't care about any of that. No, like they want to be in charge. Look at what Trump is doing, for example. Look at what Orban is doing. They immediately start eroding democracy. They want to be in charge. That's it. That's the whole goal. Because they want the power of it. They want to be rich off it, whatever. And so they like autocracy. They like authoritarianism. If you look at the economy, well, what is an authoritarian structure? Oh, would you look at that? There is this giant international conglomerate corporation, works exactly like a monarchy. You got the people, maybe like a German sort of the Kurfürst system, like the Prince Elector system. Those will be your investors or the board members, and it's like a very rigid, hierarchical, top-down structure where there is no place for democracy. And a lot of far-right people, a lot of conservatives love that. Because, hey, that's how things are supposed to be. Hierarchy is natural. We're not supposed to be equal. Hey, look at those people whose skin is not white. Well, they're supposed to have a lower station in life. These used to be mainstream talking points just up until like 50 years ago. Now they are like implicit talking points, depending on the group, depending on the country. But we do see the parallel here. And so the car, how does the car come into this play? Well, it varies, but generally speaking, what is the ultimate urbanist symbol of this hierarchy of like, I am better than you because of my station in life, because of my race sometimes? Well, it would be these like really stretched out, segregated, separated, closed off, walled off suburbs, for example. In the city, people are on top of each other. Well, not literally, that's not a charitable way of phrasing it, but like in cities, people live close to each other. You encounter other people. You encounter people from different parts of society. In the suburbs, though, chances are everyone is going to be the same as you, right? Because only a certain class of people can afford to live in a given area, because usually houses are priced at like similar rates. And so the city and closeness and proximity and really communal spaces, these are anathemas to these far-right people or like just conservative right-wing people's worldview. And the car is a tool to enact essentially this separation, this hierarchization of society, like to isolate yourself, to close yourself off from people you don't like, and to also take those groups and like condemn them to a given area, to a given place, and including physically. Like, for example, when you put a highway through a black neighborhood or next to a black neighborhood, whatever, and then on one side it's the nice suburb with whites, with the white Americans, and on the other side it's the poor blacks. That happens. We've seen that. Or the other thing is that with cars, you are essentially putting destinations, services, etc., around the city behind a paywall. If you want to take part in society, there's an entrance fee, dude. It's called buying a car. Like, the entrance fee is there and the tickets are sold at your local car salon. So I think this is also a way now of enacting this hierarchical, really fragmented and alienated society model that they want to achieve.
Yeah, it's interesting to me to read the website of this party because considering they're called motorists for themselves, you really have to dig down the website to find anything about cars.
Yeah.
They're really just an extreme far-right party and everything. Like even the banner, as soon as I came in, was talking about how the church has less power than they used to.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell does that have to do with cars? It is really interesting that they've chosen to brand themselves this way because, yeah. Anyway, we can dig in a little bit here. I mean, I don't know how much I want to rant about a bunch of far-right nut jobs here.
Yeah, let's not do it too long. Basically, just the long and short of it, the reason why they're called the car party is because in Czechia, there's a microculture war going on right now with terms floating around such as, traffic hell, cyclo-fascists, cyclo-terrorists,
Yeah.
green communists. And this is just like them basically stamping their foot down. It's like, hey guys, we are here in the culture war. Because in Czechia, there's this like boomer psychosis that like the government is full of these like green fanatics who are trying to force us all to look like North Korea because, in North Korea, there are no cars, people cycle. And it's like, North Korea, China in 1970, China, 19th century, it's insanity. And one side of this culture war is like, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't like widen the highway because like it brings more cars, guys. I don't know. Maybe like if I didn't die on the bike paths, that would be cool, I guess. This is one side. And the other side is like, yeah, more highway, more car. Yeah, public transit is for poor people and Roma, or both, Trains are for pensioners and students. And the serious people, of course, drive. If you're a serious person, you'll afford a car because the car is number one. And then everything else is subordinated to that. The streets belong to cars. The sidewalks belong to cars. And if you get run over by a car, right, then you should basically pay. Like if a driver gets drunk and runs you over, then you should pay him later so that like the payment it took at the car wash to wash your blood off the offender, right? Like this is the attitude. And in this culture war, this like completely hollow, empty billionaire funded movement was like, oh, we're going to brand as the pro-car side in the culture war. And that's the story. Yeah. By the way, they also approved, that party is also approved the increasing of public transit benefits for students and pensioners from 50 to 75%. So it's a thing. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's just so fascinating to me to like a far-right party to literally brand themselves as cars. I know that I keep getting hung up on this, but it is interesting to read through their platform because like you got to go like 80% of the way down before cars are even mentioned, which is just, again, so weird that you've branded yourself this, but that's not the headline. But when they do finally start talking about cars, they say that our priority is to defend the availability of traditional internal combustion engines.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. But that also kind of gives it away, right? That really is. It's that whole anti-climate change side to it.
Yeah, of course.
It's not just about cars. It's not just that we're pro-cars. It's more that they're in favor of cars because they're against the environment. Everything about this reads to me of a list of things that they're against rather than a list of things that they're for, which I guess is not that unusual. A lot of right-wing parties are like that.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, it's like a protest party basically against like everything and nothing. But the main goal of the party is to be like a wedge in Czech politics against pro-environment policies because look at who's funding it, right?
Yeah.
Lignite billionaires funding it. So this party is just another like empty sock puppet of some billionaire, and they're not wearing that sock puppet on their hands or feet. Let me tell you that.
Yeah. So it's pretty obvious as soon as you read absolutely anything about this. This is an anti-environment party, not a pro-car party.
Yeah, of course.
They talk about reducing fuel taxations. It says they want to abolish environmental charges of any kind. Mm-hmm. They want to rip up bike lanes. They want to allow cars to go everywhere within. They mentioned Prague in particular, that cars aren't allowed everywhere they need to go in Prague. And they want more cars in Prague, which is kind of bonkers to me because there are a lot of cars in Prague.
Yeah, but like, I mean, look, so this is the other side of the coin. Like, honestly, in Prague, hot take incoming, like looking at some of that bike infrastructure, dude, if they rip up some of those, I really wouldn't mind because the problem is like the situation in Prague is kind of like Republicans versus Democrats. So, well, it's not that yet, but it's going to be. So it's like, oh, you can get these crazy idiots on the far right who are like, I don't know, culture war, everything will get worse, but it's all because of, I don't know, whatever, the current enemy. And you have the other side, which is like, oh, we're going to make things a little bit better, but not too good because that'll be scary. And so the previous leadership of the city was like responsible for some bike paths that were put up that actually killed people, that turned actually deadly. We had a highly publicized death a few months ago of like, they put up this like unsafe, unusable bike lane. and someone got flattened there. And it's like, yeah, guys, putting up an unreserved bike lane on the sides of a 6-lane highway, like, okay, it might as well not be there because no one's going to use it. And if you use it, you're going to die. So this is the issue. So we have these like idiotic half solutions, unusable, unsafe shit. You would never, ever let your children bike there. Like even the healthy 30-something-year-old adult who's insane enough to ride a bike in any weather, these like competition bikes around the city, even them is like, nope, sometimes I'm not riding there, dude. And then this then provides ammunition for your political opposition because then they're like, oh, look at all these bike lanes that were built. No one's using them, which is kind of true. And it's like, well, then but then the conclusion is not we should build good bike lanes. The conclusion is we should just get rid of bike lanes because clearly bike lanes. Didn't you know that Amsterdam is flat and Prague isn't? And it's like, yeah, e-bikes are things. Like,
Yeah.
What do you want? Oh, but e-bikes are expensive. Okay, but if a person can't afford an e-bike, how will they afford a car, right? Like, anyway, Czech politics is very interesting. Very interesting. It's a microcosm of a lot of the larger modern transit-related culture wars. And with this, I would like to have this as a segue into my hottest take ever.
All right, there we go.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, get ready. So, the new government in Czechia has recently unveiled plans. They recently publicized their like transit plans, ideas, etc. Of course, cars take center stage. But like, as car-brained as a country is, Czechia does not have its basic highway infrastructure built out.
Right.
The D1 highway, which was, when did they start building that? Like half a century ago? It's still not done. But there's this one highway that goes through the country. It's the D1, it's called. One section is missing. And the first section was completed around the time, I think, when my parents were born.
Wow.
Because it's a hopelessly fragmented country, which is good and it's bad. It's good in the sense that when the 90s rolled around, in Europe, there were like the rail network was cut back everywhere, the branch lines, everything, because of course, motorization is the future. The local Czech municipalities, who are very strong traditionally, man, they fought for those rail lines like they were the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark. And they succeeded. The Czech rail system today is very dense, trains go everywhere, and yeah, they saved the rail system. Great. But it also means that if you want to build new stuff, I mean, you have to go through this hellish process of like trying to, this village doesn't agree about this and that village, so it takes ages. Now, okay, transit. The new government wants to finish the highway system. They're going to finish the bare bones basic highway system by the year 2033, approximately. Cool. And then rail. They also said some interesting things about rail. So Czechia, if you have Google Maps in front of you, anyone listening, if you open up Google Maps, you'll see Czechia. You look for Czechia, of course. In Czechia, there are some high-speed rail lines planned. This is where my hot take is about high-speed rail. So one of the lines is Dresden. It goes Dresden, Prague, Brno, and then down towards like Vienna and Bratislava. That's from the northwest to the southeast.
Yeah.
That's getting built. They said, yeah, that's being planned. Coming to you. The preparations are underway. It's going to be done in like half a century at least. Cool. But that's happening. Nice. But then they said, but there are some other high-speed lines. For example, the Prague, Hradec Králové, Wrocław towards Poland. So that's from Prague to the northeast. Then there's another one from Prague down towards Munich. That's the southwest high-speed connection. And they said, hey, the Wrocław and the Munich lines, they're done. We're not doing that. Actually, we're not going to continue the preparations. And I say, my opinion here is, sure, fine, whatever. I don't care. Because in many contexts, and this is my hot take, okay? In a lot of contexts, I'm really not sold on the idea of high-speed rail.
Well, that's interesting because that means that you agree with the Motorists for Themselves party, because I was just reading their platform, and they are also not in favor of this high-speed rail. So that's something that you have in common with the far right.
Well, yeah, this is me like radicalizing. So, okay, why, right? So, okay, in places like in larger places, China, Russia, the West Coast, how's that going for high-speed rail? Also in hopelessly centralized places like France, okay, fine, build it, it's cool. Hey, but by the way, if someone's like, hey, here's a high-speed rail line, do you want it? I'm like, hell yeah, I'm fully in support of it. But life is not so simple, right? So high-speed lines are big, costly projects, and if you don't have one yet, then, it takes really precious funds. Of course, it's a lot of money, and you're also using up political capital, which means the project's public support. And public support is influenced, it's contingent upon, how beneficial people perceive it as, time of completion, money needed for it. And with high-speed lines, you can run into issues here. Things get delayed, no pun intended, pushed out, costs balloon, and that can siphon away public support from the high-speed lines. And when the thing is actually built, if it's not built completely correctly and perfectly even, then you won't see any benefit from them. And that's the challenge, I think. That's really the challenge. And I think that's the trap of high-speed rail very often, that they build these big-ass projects. Cool, fine, whatever. But then, how are we going to actually operate this? How will this thing work? You find out that the people who built this didn't really think about it harder than just like, oh, train line, go fast, boom. And then there's the line. And so I think in a lot of these cases, including in Czechia's case, it would make a lot more sense to have tracks, not for 350, 320, but more like 230.
Yeah.
230, 250. And I would have, and this is foreshadowing one of my videos that's coming out hopefully this month. My dream system is this. Tracks for 250, on which trains go 200. So an artificially lowered speed, because 200 is high enough already, it's pretty good. And that top speed means that you can still get a pretty decent coverage. You can stop at more places, serve more people, and there is that 50. It's like, why am I going slower? Why am I going slower than 250 if the track is 250? Why am I only going 200? Well, it's for stability. This is something the Swiss figured out, actually, that if you have track sections like this, 250 track, but the regular speed set by the schedule is 200, then if your train is delayed, then that section will basically, the train accelerates and starts working down its delay. So your rail system will start eating delays. And so why is this cool? Well, because the Swiss figured out that, yeah, you can get from point A to point B really fucking fast. Great. So instead of 200, you're going like 320, 350, and you are there to your destination 30 minutes faster. Okay. But if the system is not integrated, if the system is just kind of like piled onto each other, the schedules, and it's not harmonized, etc., if there is no duct, as the Swiss would call it, then, okay, you are there 30 minutes earlier, but you're going to be waiting an hour and a half for your connection.
Yeah.
And then what's the point?
Yeah, and I don't think this is even that controversial. This comes up a lot. High-speed rail works very well in certain circumstances between large population centers that are a certain distance. Typically it's kind of the 500 to 800 kilometer range, and it works extremely well for that. But for, I think, Switzerland definitely, but even, the Netherlands as well, has shown that what is often more important is more trains running often on time to more places is actually more important than a lower number of trains running between only large population centers.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's absolutely reasonable. And again, yeah, Switzerland has shown that this really is potentially a much better approach.
Yeah, basically. And actually, in my video, just to give a bit of a spoiler here, in my video, I'm going to talk about this really showcase of this exact issue. And this is a problem with boomers. Once again, I'm ragging on the boomers today a lot, but there's a problem with them. There's this line from Prague to Linz in Austria through Budweis. That's where the beer is from. And recently there was a big hullabaloo in rail circles that right now, you can get from Prague to Budweis at 200 kilometers per hour. The first ever rail track in the Czech Republic and in the wider region where trains achieve 200 kilometers per hour as top speed in regular long distance traffic. And as everything in Czechia, this comes with 6 asterisks. There's only one train out of the so daily there's 25 connections between Prague and Budweis. It's great. And the trains are pretty fast. The tracks were straightened, built out properly, capacity was added, and now trains there are competitive with cars. It takes the same amount of time to drive than to take the train. It's awesome. And the trains run very frequently, and there are lots of different operators. Great. Now the thing is, of these 25 trains per direction per day, one of them is this quarter of a century old Pendolino train, which is a tilt box, which is the only thing that can do 200 kilometers per hour on this line. Some sections which are actually that high speed, other sections are regular speed. Otherwise, regular trains can do 185 kilometers per hour, But the leadership really, really, really needed this like big PR number, 200, nice number, big number. Look, I've known numbers. Some of my best friends are numbers. I like them big. I like them very big. 200, nice round, 200, excellent. They wanted this huge PR thing, and it's useless. Like, okay, the train goes fast, awesome, and they actually artificially clipped away some like dwell times and like assumed they were extremely charitable when they constructed the schedule. And the end result is that pretty much none of those 200 kilometers per hour connections make it on time. So you might as well just take the regular one because it's like 4 minutes faster, according to even this extremely stretched schedule. And the train is always like 4 or 5 minutes late. So then what's the point? And this is exactly the issue. You should never, ever run up against the ceiling in regular operation, only when it's needed. And then you make it to Budweiser, and it's like, oh, 200 kilometers per hour. 200 kilometers, how nice, great. Now I have 1 more hour to wait for my connection at 10 p.m. at this train station. Cool. So yeah, complete nonsense. And I think the gold standard should be 230, 250, and then the trains go 200. And then when needed, you accelerate.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, that seems perfectly reasonable. So do you think it's actually likely that that one high-speed line from the northwest down to Vienna is actually going to get built?
Oh, yeah.
Because that does seem to make sense still for me. As I look at Czechia, that's where a lot of the population lies that will connect between Germany and Austria. That seems like a good project. But for everything else you're talking about, the Switzerland model is probably better. Czechia is bigger than Switzerland with a lot fewer mountains. But I still think that that's the kind of model that would work best there.
Yeah. So the northwest to southeast is definitely happening. Like there's political will across all sides, which is pretty much eternal. And the preparations have been going on for so long that now it's like, yeah, we just out of inertia, we'll just do this. But it's actually pretty funny. This project actually hides, okay, high-speed rail, it's super cool, super fine, we love it, whatever. So this project is like capacity in a trench coat. So this is not about speed. It's marketed as high-speed rail. It's like, oh, 320 kilometers per hour, whatever. Cool, fine, whatever. In reality, this is a rail capacity project in disguise. In Prague, there is this wonderful line between Prague and Kolín. Kolín is like a suburb to the east or like a small town to the east. And the line between them, between Prague and Kolín, also happens to be like the most disastrously congested line in the whole country. It was reconstructed for 2 years. That's 2 years of bus replacement, delays, lack of stability. It was horrible. All this work was sank into it so that they could preserve the existing double track. That should have been 4-tracked, but they didn't. And the reason why they didn't is because, oh, there's going to be the high-speed rail that's going to add capacity, and this will cut down on delays. The capacity and the stability will make travels much shorter in the whole area. And like, yeah, but we can also do this without high speed. Okay, look, I'm glad that it's getting built. I'm glad we're getting high-speed rail. But I mean, if you built a second double track there for like 200, if you 4-tracked the existing corridor, ratcheted up to 230, you would have basically achieved the exact same thing. Also, the one thing I still want to mention about this is that high-speed rail is dangerous because it looks dangerously like an airport. And high-speed trains look dangerously like airplanes. And why is this a problem? Well, we got people in charge. Usually these conservative politicians, they're older, they don't understand transit, they know the insides of a car, but they also know something else. They know friggin' airports and planes. For them, the whole world is suburbs, highways, offices, that's their workplace, airport, an airplane. That's what they're used to. That's the world they understand. And they look at high-speed rail and it's like, oh, cool, planes on tracks. Wow, let's build a terminal. So when I hear the word terminal used when it comes to rail instead of station, like, oh, it's a train terminal instead of train station, my alarm bells are going off.
Yeah, that does run into the issue that I've seen in various parts of the world where they'll build these stations that are outside of the city that are like airports with big highways going to them and everything. Giant parking lots outside.
And guess what? The Prague-Munich high-speed rail, they planned a terminal at Pilsen on the way. Guess what that terminal is? 20 kilometers south of the city, next to a giant parking lot. It's this, right? And it would have been this. And honestly, I'm glad it's not happening like this, because this should have been a mixed service. The trains should go to the center of Pilsen. Don't do this BS. Run the trains to the center. You have the station there. Now, around Pilsen, the Czech Rail Directorate is already working on other projects, which, okay, I'm just going to list this. So a brand new track, electrified, 200 kilometers per hour, single track.
Nice.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Ooh, future. Yeah.
Switzerland can pull that off sometimes with the single tracks and very, very good scheduling. But they also have a good excuse because they have to tunnel through mountains.
Yeah, that's like kind of flatlands. And you're also connecting like Prague with Munich. Though I will give some credit to Czechia here. I don't want to just rag on Czechia. This is, as in many times during history, especially during the middle of the 20th century, it's the Bavarians' fault to a large extent, right? Because Bavaria is an absolutely incredible place. You have these extremely rich boomers. Today's boomer day. I'm sorry, I didn't intend it like this, but
yeah, I'm sorry for any boomers listening. Not all boomers. Hashtag not all boomers.
Yeah. I don't mean you if you're a boomer. Hey, I'm referring to a specific conservative, out of touch, upper middle class, stereotypical person who, right? Just based off of vibes. So you got this like stereotypical, like lives in the Munich suburbs, drives a giant, expensive BMW of doom to the point where they're sitting in their car on the perfectly flat cement concrete highway, clawing at the 4K display to set up the 5.1 surround Dolby Atmos system around them as their car almost like sort of drives itself, and the seat heating or cooling is on in the leather seat and it's massaging their back, right?
All right, we get the idea.
This is where cars are in Bavaria.
Yeah.
And then you look at what's next to the highway. Oh, look, it's a rail line. Well, it's single track, maybe sometimes double track, unelectrified. The maximum permitted speed is 80, maybe 100 kilometers per hour. And it's running these like half a century old diesel rail buses or diesel multiple units. And it's like, how come there's a half a century gap between rail and automotive transport?
Yeah.
Well, it's Bavaria. And so the Bavarians are famously not interested in linking Prague and Munich with any sort of good rail service. The Czechs have been bothering them about it for, I think, at this point, almost decades, and nothing is happening. The line around the Furthinwald section is as bad as it has ever been. So even though the Czech Rail Directorate was planning at this like famous single track 200 lines, you can't really blame them that much, because like even if you build out the shiny new line, that thing is not going to connect to anything for at least a half a century. So it's called Diesel Land.
Yeah, it is interesting, though, to see like the Czech Republic actually has like a fairly high modal share for rail. Like you mentioned, they built out a lot of rail lines and, they're getting old. They don't run as fast as we might like.
Actually, not really. So this is due to capacity, actually.
Yeah.
So it's not that the trains have gotten slower. It's actually, there have been like pretty huge rolling stock procurements and things have gotten massively better, especially to like shithole countries like Hungary, where I'm from, thank you. And things have gotten much better. Rolling stock is shiny, new, modern, great. But there's so many trains and rail has become so popular that the trains cannot go as fast because there's stuff in front of you on the tracks always.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's like a kind of first world problems. Oh, rail is too popular, too many people. But then again, and this is actually something interesting, you can also opine on this. So far, this has been me throwing info at you, but I'm going to involve you more in the following point of like, I've heard something interesting recently, and I want your opinion on this. And the statement is this. The reason why cycling has not become so popular in Central Eastern Europe compared to cities in the West, in the Northwest of Europe, is because in Central Eastern Europe, public transportation is top-notch.
Yep.
It might be sometimes old, but it goes everywhere.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly valid. And I really do. I think it's pretty hard to find a country with extremely high levels of cycling and extremely high levels of public transit. I think they do compete with one another to a certain extent. And I am certainly a person that I'm not that fond of cycling. I actually ride a bike all the time here.
Hot take number 2.
I know, right? I'm actually not that fond of cycling.
Not even bikes.
Not even bikes, right? If I have a choice between cycling and taking a tram, and the tram is, 5 minutes longer or something, 10 minutes longer maybe, depending on how far I'm going, I'll take the tram every time. I actually prefer that. I prefer the idea of just walking around to what I'm doing, and then I walk to the closest transit stop, hop on a transit vehicle, sit down, relax, and it takes me to the next place that I walk. That is my preferred way of traveling. And I think that's true for a lot of people. The real truth of it is there's not that many, despite what the motorists for themselves might say, there's not even that many car people out there, or bike people, or train people, or whatever. Most people don't care how they get around. They're really not that fussed about it. And whatever they're used to, whatever environment they're put in, they will do that default thing. And I think, again, yeah, if public transit is good enough, people will just take public transit.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And in Prague, about 50% of people take public transit, 25% walk, and 25% drive. And then cyclists are like somewhere there, like in the 1 or 2% somewhere.
I mean, you can certainly bring up that cycling by making it safer, and that will happen. I mean, that's a pretty consistent thing. You make cycling safer, especially if the network is reasonably complete. Lots of people will come out and cycle. But I think you do actually hit a cap depending on how good your public transit is.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's true.
I think in Central Eastern Europe, the places where cycling could really, really fill a good niche is outside of bigger cities. So inside bigger cities as well, but mainly the best effect would be outside of bigger cities in these like smaller towns. You get smaller towns around them, like even smaller maybe villages.
Well, especially these places that you could go from one side to the other on a bicycle in 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like these small towns, which Czechia is now having other places as well. Like I went back to my hometown in Hungary recently, and I haven't lived there for about a decade. And I went back, and it's like a small town, right? It's like, like 30,000 people. And I go there, and there are traffic jams in the morning.
Yeah.
In this small town. I was like, what? Because everyone drives. And
Yeah.
that's exactly where cycling could shine, within these smaller towns, first and foremost, and to link up all these smaller settlements which are around them. Because in Central Eastern Europe, this is like very usual. Like you get a town of like 20,000 surrounded by like 10 villages. And it's like, that could be perfect.
And I think that's exactly the kind of place that's being held back by cycling infrastructure, not by anything else.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the lack thereof, yes, exactly. But hey, even Eastern Europe is improving in this sense. Even here in Czechia, there are like the place I live right now, near Prague, small towns, etc. I can see the city leadership kind of recognizes this problem and is doing things occasionally, which is good. I mean, hey, it's better than being like openly hostile. So it's like when someone is like bi-curious. Like it's that, but with cycling.
Bike Curious, yes.
Bike Curious, yeah.
Great Twitch channel, by the way, Bike Curious. Streams every Sunday in San Francisco.
Nice. Actually, I have this pet theory that like, hey, you could just walk up to like a Czech politician, possibly one who's in charge, and it's like you use their ideology against them, like, hey, excuse me, sir. So think of cyclists as like Roma people, okay? And then a week later, every cycle path in Czechia is segregated. Yeah, so...
Oh, my God.
Things are getting better, though, and I'm happy about it. So,
what I do find interesting, though, bringing it back to these motorists for themselves, trains must be pretty popular in Czechia because even the Motorists for Themselves party has a section on their website about trains.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not like they say, well, they do say they want to build more highways and all that kind of stuff. And they say they want to get rid of bike lanes and that kind of thing. But when it comes to rail, they can't just say, we don't want to do rail. We want to get rid of it or something. They do say that the high-speed rail is a waste of money, but then they talk about that they support the development of fast connections, modernization of conventional lines, enabling speeds up to 250 kilometers an hour. They talk about building more park and ride garages. They do love their cars at the stations. But I do find it interesting that even the climate change denying, paid by a coal billionaire, we want to get rid of all environmentally friendly stuff, kill the cyclists party, we love cars, still has to be, but we also want to invest in rail.
Oh, yeah. Of course. I mean, there would be backlash if they didn't. Trains are a very much accepted and appreciated part of Czech society, and really societies across Eastern Europe, like in Central Eastern Europe, in Hungary.
Yeah.
The fact that the rail is so terrible is like a constant national scandal. So, yeah, because it's good. And in Czechia, good work is being done on the rail. Sometimes it comes with like various asterisks. Train people will grumble like, they did this line, it's nice, but like here and there, it's like it could have been better. But generally it's fine. So yeah, that being said, so in Eastern Europe, rail did retain its prestige.
Yeah.
Even if certain countries don't invest in it, Hungary, as they should. But hey, I have a video about that if anyone's interested. One thing I don't like, though, is I still wanted to mention this because this has been bugging me for a bit. And not because of the person. There's this actually fellow Hungarian, like fellow Serbian Hungarian. And I don't want to do drama here, like whatever. Like I saw this video, people have been linking it to me. Like, what was the guy's name? Living in Europe, ironically, I believe, or Eastern Europe. And he put out this video of like, oh, comic books are actually terrible. And the whole video is like sort of aimed against my old video of like, hey, comic books are actually pretty cool. My point was that, hey, these buildings were actually put up as part of a system. Like it was called complete planning, where the whole neighborhood was designed and they were prototype, like they were really, really good, like walkable, bikeable, excellent. Everything is close by. Great. And they solved the housing crisis basically. And then the guy came up with this, like, I mean, it's content for like younger people. I don't want to say children, but like, it's like the epic memes, bass boosted fart noise, flashing lights. It's for people whose attention span is like 1.5 seconds. Okay, fine. That's a niche. That's cool. Whatever. But then please don't run around saying like stupid stuff about comic blocks and be unfair against it. But okay, whatever. We talked it out. That's done and over. I'm fine with the guy. Whatever. But this actually, what he's doing is like, it's a part of a larger problem that I wanted to talk about a little bit. It's this weird sort of almost like commodification and like fetishization of Eastern Europe, right? Like this being like performatively Eastern European. And it's like, that is actually pretty, well, dumb, I should say. Like, imagine if I did the same thing, right? I talk normally, this is how I talk, right? But imagine if I did this, right? Oh, come on, it's like, hello, everyone. My name is Adam Igorovich something, and I'm going to talk to you now about the life in Eastern Europe. I'm from Eastern Europe, we drink 2 bottles of vodka every day. Like, right, this is like, I become this like parody, right? Like,
right.
I view it the same thing as like a minstrel show, but with like maybe one step removed. I really don't like it because it fetishizes and like sort of turns inside out the poverty, really, and the historical context and all the issues Eastern Europe has had. And it's just like, funny vodka bear. It's like, there's so much more to it, dude. Like, come on. And like, when I watched that video, I had this like epiphany, like, imagine that you are a black guy in Japan. Like you're a black person and you're in Japan just visiting, right? And you walk around the streets. You're obviously from Africa, right? Or African American, right? African ancestry. And you walk up to a Japanese person and you go, oh, hello, excuse me. Could you please point me towards a restaurant? Could you please, like, is there a restaurant nearby? The Japanese person is like, yes. So they take out their phone. You see them like typing on it. And then they show it to you. And it's Google Maps with all the local KFC restaurants shown. And it's like, wow, thank you. Thanks, I guess. Because is this meant in a racist way? No, like having been to Japan lots of times, probably not. Like probably it's just like they legitimately think a Japanese person just may have it in their brain that like, oh, black person, oh yeah, KFC, right?
So you're saying that when I meet an Eastern European, I should just give them a bottle of vodka?
Yeah, it's like you have a bunch of people from different countries. Then it's like, oh, hi, Bill. Oh, hi, Pavel. Oh, hello, Igor. Here's your vodka. Oh, hi, Susie. Chiki briki. Anyway, it's just like a person's fundamental, either deliberate or just like accidental misunderstanding of people who live in an area. And, it's kind of like, oh, black person, KFC. Or it's like, Eastern Europe, vodka, Russia. Like, and it was like, I was listening to that fucking video. Like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't swear. I was listening to that freaking video about like, hey, come, because the guy puts on this accent, right? That's not how he talks. I know Hungarians from Serbia. That's not how they talk normally, right? He puts on this accent. And like, I was like listening to it. I was thinking of like the black person in Japan, like, man, so this is how it feels. God damn. Anyway.
Well, I mean, that's where you have the opportunity to set the record straight on what it's like to be an Eastern European. But you do love trains.
Yeah, I do.
Admit it, you love trains.
Except high-speed trains. I'm kidding. Yeah, I do. I think they're cool.
All right. Well, I mean, that was quite a good conversation about Czechia. It's interesting, because that's one of the countries that, honestly, there isn't enough talked about in terms of, I know you've made a video about Prague before, which is eye-opening to most people. But yeah, it's good to hear. Any closing thoughts before we finish off here?
Closing thoughts. Yeah, sure. High-speed train. Okay, very often good, but don't fall into a trap with it. Look at it. If maybe the Swiss model might work better for you. This is my message. And oh, by the way, last thing, I'm going to say this in my next video, I'm going to say it here as well. The first rail operator in or around Czechia who creates a children's play area on the train, as seen in Switzerland or in Finland, like this proper big with the monkey bars and the
with the play space and everything. Yep.
Yeah, the first operator that creates that. I'm going to go there. I'm going to promote you for free for a year. I'm going to have multiple videos dedicated to your operation, okay? Free of charge. Thank you.
All right. That sounds good to me. And so maybe instead of having motorists for themselves, we can have trains for everyone.
For all ourselves. Oh, yeah.
For everyone involved, yes. Thanks so much for coming out. If you want to hear more from Adam Something, you can check out his YouTube channel, Adam Something on YouTube. And thanks for coming out. Good to talk to you.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
That's all we have on the agenda for today. I hope you enjoyed listening to it almost as much as we enjoyed making it. I really enjoy talking to other content creators about what they find interesting, and a lot of the people I have on this podcast I met since joining Nebula. Nebula is the subscription streaming service created by and for educational content creators and the people who love their content. Nebula has all sorts of educational content, from videos to podcasts to classes by your favorite creators, as well as Nebula Originals, which are high-budget productions. Honestly, Nebula is such a great platform, and I'm so happy for my content to be available there. If you use our special link, which is nebula.tv/agenda, you'll get a discount off an annual membership, which comes to only $30 a year, which I think is a fantastic deal. So check out Nebula at nebula.tv/agenda and see if there's something of interest to you. At the very least, you'll be able to hear every episode of the Urbanist Agenda a little bit earlier than everyone else, so you can get the inside scoop on what we're plotting and scheming. Thanks again for listening, and maybe next time you'll be listening on Nebula.